Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of pulling down an overgrown dog. This the standard Schnauzer, she's got a lot of long coat here, and in part 1 I explained that I let it get this long because first of all it was the winter and I wanted her to have her nice weatherproof jacket. Then she was going to be bred, and she was bred, and now we're timing her coat to be nice and short and comfortable for when the puppies come. So right around the time of the ultrasound, that is generally when I will pull the excess coat off of the mom-to-be. So in part 1, we did the center section because that's what I like to just generally do first because of the situation that the middle grows in the slowest, and while that's not really relevant for her necessarily because this is getting ready for puppies coming, it's just a habit that I have, that I do the center section first, then I do the neck, shoulder, rear, and the head and the tail grows the fastest, so they get done last, and then that will typically have the coat come in at a good length all over instead of being long in the neck and short in the body, or good in the body but not good elsewhere. So with all that said, let's get right to it with the neck and the shoulder. I think this is one of the most difficult areas to take care of when it's overgrown. That's because there tend to be a lot of layers, either because maybe it's been raked in between, or because they run through stuff, and especially her coat pulls pretty easily on its own, and the brush can kind of do a little bit of stripping over time. Or it can happen, if you keep a collar on the dog or a harness or something like that, those will always dig into the coat, cause some layers to form. And it's so common, people start trying to just like dig in and pull all of the whole long coat there, but that's so much harder on you and harder on the dog. There's broken layers in there. There's there's just a lot of hair there, and you can get into undercoat there. You can get into, some dogs have a weird, not normal coat that grows in this area, and it's difficult to pull it all out at once. So you're really just going to have a much easier time if you go through. It'll be easier on you, especially if you're a beginner, and it'll be easier on the dog if you just pull the longest stuff first. So I'm using a textured stone. This one's from Greyhound. It's a metal one. It's called a shaper. And if you use a textured tool, you can't break the coat. So I really recommend it unless you're pretty experienced and you're really used to what you're doing. But what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just pulling this top layer off, the longest hair. And you can see there's another layer underneath. The farther I go into this, the more you'll be able to see. There's another layer, just like there was a layer here that was left after I pulled the longest hair. And generally what I do in a normal situation, as opposed to, for a mom-to-be, is I probably would go back and pull that next layer off a month later, so that we can start building in layers on purpose, and that's how we get to a rotated coat. I probably won't do that for her. I probably for sure won't, because in a month or so we'll be really close to puppies, and I wouldn't want to put her through that too close to puppies. So once I get the layer off on the shoulders today, then I will probably start again to work a little at a time. I'm not putting her through too much at a time. So I did this one day, I'm going to do this another day, I'm going to do this another day. And then maybe a few days after that, then I might go back through and then take this whole sparse layer off, which shouldn't take very long because there's actually not very much of it. This long layer is the majority of what's there. And I'm just gonna pull at that. When you start getting on the neck, this is the neck, the shoulder area, especially right in here, is where we get these thick multiple layers. So just make sure you're pulling the textured part at the tip of the hair. Don't dig in, make that be a separate pass. People can really get into the weeds easily because they get aggressive early and then, oh, I'm gonna get it all out, and then they work really hard for about 20 minutes and then they still have 70% of it left to go. And then, oh my God, I can't keep doing this. And then they have, then they're committed because they've worked maybe a small section of it all the way down to the undercoat, but now they've got to do that everywhere or it's going to come in funny. So just save yourself the trouble. Now, there's a couple of things I can do to make this a little easier. One is I want to hold the skin above where I'm stripping, so I'm going to gather that loosely in my hand. And standard Schnauzers are exactly the right size for me to have them rest their chin on my shoulder while I do this, or on my arm. And then they're a little more supported while I'm doing this neck area. This is a pretty sensitive area, so I go slow and take my time so the dog doesn't have any reason not to cooperate with me. As I am very often saying, if your dog is fussy with you, you might be taking too much hair at a time, or you might be going too fast. You know, show dogs or dogs that are used to having their coat worked a lot, you can go quite a bit faster and they're fine with it. But dogs we don't do very often, or that are new to hand stripping, or like in her case, being a mom to be, she's just generally a little more delicate, and so I'm just taking my time. I'm not going to rush her just to get it done for my convenience. I'm the one who let the hair grow out, so I can plan the time that she needs in order to get it taken care of again. It's easy to kind of make pulling down the dog's coat, especially when it's long, into a to-do list checkbox, and that's not really fair to the dog. It's not really about, I gotta get this done like it's a chore. Sometimes we do feel like hand stripping is a little bit of a chore, but if you bring that energy to it, the dog's gonna feel that. And nobody wants to feel like they themselves are a chore. So have some empathy, take some time. You can see I'm still making pretty good time here. I got a pretty nice pile of all of these little locks. That's one thing I really like about stripping out a long coat, especially if it's a nice hard one, is it's just really easy to just grab a little hair at a time. These little locks of hair are kind of pre-ready to go. I don't brush the coat before I start pulling in a case like this, because then it makes these little locks harder to see. But just grabbing one little lock at a time, that's generally not too much for them to handle. So just gonna keep pulling. When we move a little forward to this chest area, that area is a little more sensitive. So you have to go even slower, choose even smaller amounts of hair. I'm going to address that later. One thing I would do if she wasn't a mom would be possibly to rake this out, maybe pull it down. If she was going to be shown anytime soon, you know, sometimes if you got a dog with a nice chest and a hard coat, it's really nice to show that off by having a tight jacket on the chest. But she's not going to need that, so I'm probably just going to take that down with thinning shears, or possibly even the clippers for now. And then when we're done with having puppies, if I wanted to get her back in the show ring, then you know, then I could rake it and start getting hard coat coming back in. I like to show her nice hard coat so that prospective puppy people know how nice a coat she has the genetics for. That's part of why I haven't clippered her. It's easy to maintain. Her coat pulls relatively easily. Those are all things that are important to me to breed for in terms of coat. So I want that to be able to be visible. But I would feel bad if she had a big, long, full coat and she's trying to take care of puppies at the same time. Puppies are warm. Making milk is warm, and they can get pretty hot. So I want her to be as comfortable as possible. All right, I'm coming down her shoulder now. There's not much left. We're almost there. We're almost done with this little bit for today. I've already done the other side, so doesn't need too much. You can see sometimes when these layers start to lay flat, I lift them up a little bit. That helps me see the ends of the locks of hair a little bit better. So I lift, pinch, pull. And I'm gonna pull in the direction of the coat growth and in the direction that I want the coat to grow. And that will help it come in and lay nice and flat and just be generally easy to take care of, good to take a look at. Okay, so just a few more little bits of hair here. And so from here forward is pretty much chest hair. Like I said, I'll probably scissor that off. It's a little bit long right here in this blend area, so let me pull at that and blend it. Okay, so now we have another layer right here that's pretty long and pretty thick, and I'll just address that in a few more days. Start up at the top just like I did here at the beginning of this video and pull my way down, and by the time I'm done at the end of this week, she should be pretty much down to undercoat. And then after a few weeks after the puppies are born, she'll start to get a new layer of coat, and that'll help protect her from puppy claws, puppy teeth, and it's just generally good timing that I like to use for these guys. All right, thanks, honey.